welcome to today's class, which is all about rotation around the spine. And I want you to have the image in your mind as we start of a straight line from shoulder to shoulder, and then your head being in the middle. And imagine your body is being looked at. You're looking at your body from above. So you've got the head in the middle and the straight line from shoulder to shoulder. That's sort of like your collarbone. And I brought my friendly dog toy combined with a bit of wood out of my living room to sort of try and show you this analogy. So what I want you to think about is the shoulders rotating around the spine staying in the middle. So if I sort of put this piece of wood here, the ends are representing my shoulders, I'm rotating around the spine from above. That straight line of the shoulder to shoulder is creating a diagonal, but the head stays in the middle. So from above, there it is. I'm sort of frowning a little bit because I'm trying to look in the screen and hold it in the right place, but hopefully that will help. We're also going to think about that straight line around the hips. So let's start with the feet sort of comfortably shoulder width apart, and let's just mobilise one shoulder on one side, and noticing as you take that shoulder up and back in a nice big circle, does your other shoulder move much? Not much, there's a little bit of movement there. And then let's pop the hand on the shoulder and now circle the elbow. And now I want you to have that rotation in the shoulders. So here's that movement again. But I want you to keep your hips quite still. And a test for me, something that I've noticed in class this week, is that if you're not moving your shoulders, your side, the arm that's hanging down by your side, will just stay still. So this is me moving my elbow, circling the shoulder around as much as possible, but I'm not taking that diagonal line, I'm not moving its position around the spine. Now I am, and now that spare arm will just gently move forwards and backwards, because when this elbow and shoulder are back, the other one is coming forwards, but my head is staying facing forwards. Same thing with the whole arm now, and sorry, the hips were staying fairly forwards for that one, or fairly still. Now we're going to take the whole arm circle. So now there should be, hopefully I can fit this in without hitting the wall behind me, yeah, just about. So what happens now is the shoulder girdle rotates, that diagonal line twists, the hip girdle rotates, that diagonal line there, or creating a diagonal line, and then that means that my feet and ankles twist as well. And this is really comfortable, it's not uncomfortable. My weight is staying equally weighted between both feet. It's not this. So let's bring the arm forwards now, same arm, same side. And just watch that there's no swaying. So if I transfer my weight from leg to leg as I do this movement, you get this sort of figure of 8 with your hips, which feels quite nice, but that's not what I'm after. I'm after pure rotation around that dead straight line of the spine. Wonderful. And then put the hand on the shoulder, circling the elbow, but just from the waist upwards. So this movement itself, this rotation of the rib cage spine, and not necessarily the head, sometimes the head as well, but just this rib cage section, if you like, is what a lot of this class is about today. And hopefully you'll feel nice and free by the end of it. And let's just finish off that same side just with the shoulder. So all the muscles around that shoulder girdle should be nice and warm by now. Back of the neck on that side will also be feeling nice and warm, which we'll need for some of the movements a little bit later. So let's swap to the other side. So shoulder only. So I am noticing a very subtle shift with the shoulder. I'm probably exaggerating a little bit for the camera. Great, and then when I put my hand on my shoulder, I keep my hips fairly still. I'm noticing that other arm in the monitor. and the other shoulder. I can see the other shoulder in my periphery vision because I'm continuing to look forwards. It's poking forwards, and then it comes out of the way as the elbow comes forwards and the arm comes forwards. And this should feel nice and stretchy around your ribcage spine. Then let's take the whole arm going backwards. And now to make this comfortable and nice and easy, I want to turn shoulders, hips, and allow those ankles to go. So if I just pause here, I'm on the outside edge of one foot, the inside edge of the other. Knees have twisted round quite a lot. If I put my hands on my knees for this movement, my legs are straight, but they go from side to side quite a bit. It shouldn't be uncomfortable, but you might just be aware of that. And then let's bring that same arm forwards. So changing the direction, but I'm still staying in the middle. So I can see in my big monitor that my head is staying in exactly the same place. So seen from above, that head is the dot in the centre of the line. The line is moving from side to side. The line of the shoulders and the hips, that in that pivoting rotational pattern. Then let's pop the hand on the shoulder, just the upper body, so the rib cage. Remember my jam jar analogy? Actually, here's the other one I thought about. So your body is a pepper pot for this movement. The ribs are the bits that you twist. The spine and through the head is the, I don't know what you call it, the bit that goes down the middle and holds everything together, basically, the bit that you unscrew to get your peppercorns in. And then from your waist downwards, or from your lower ribs downwards, the body, the rest of the body, the legs and the hips, when we're only moving the rib cage, is the bulk of the peppercorn. Peppercorn pop. Pepper pot. Pepper mill, that's the one. Woo! Might cut that bit out. Okay, brilliant. And then that same shoulder rolling just on its own. And if nothing else, just finishing off that nice bit of warmth around the back of the neck. Great. Okay, let's take the feet a little bit wider, maybe just outside the shoulders. Let's reach up, trying to touch the ceiling, creating a straight line down the side seam of your body. About 4 of them. Hold both arms up, let the arms drop, let the chin drop, roll down through the centre. Really nice and relaxed, soften the knees as soon as you can. When you're down there, nod your head, shake your head, and then quite quickly roll back up, pushing the pubic bone forwards, unravelling the spine to the top. Let's just take the roll down again, shin onto the chest. Mobilising through the spine. Let your upper body hang from your waist. This time soften the knees a little bit more, and then try and straighten the legs and to stretch the backs of the legs. 3 or 4 times. So you're softening the knees to release the stretch. You're trying to straighten your legs to get the stretch. It's not a great big knee bend. And then finish off rolling back up again. Okay, having a little look at this next movement. So we're going to take some seesaw hips. Come back to thinking about the straight line from hip to hip. So that the contrasting of my top, if you like, against my leggings. So we're going to take a roll down. Just watch me first. We're going to keep the legs straight this time, and we're going to drop into one hip and then into the other. Seesaw hips. If I was able to see you, I'd be looking to notice that your hips are level in the middle, and then when you drop into one side, that hip goes higher, the other hip drops, you come back into the middle, and then you go an equal amount to the other side. You might notice, and especially if someone was able to check for you, that one side works a little bit better than the other. So let's just try that. So taking the roll down. Soften the knees if you want to, and then straighten the legs. If this is difficult for you, take the feet a little bit wider. Keep those insteps nice and parallel. You don't necessarily need to have your hands on the floor. You can just relax in that upper body. But do try and keep the legs straight. Here we go. We're dropping into one hip and then into the other hip. This movement is going to be really helpful later on
imagine that diagonal line. So it's level, it's horizontal now, and then it's tipped and tipped. Great, come back into the centre, soften the knees, roll up through the middle. We're going to take a very similar movement to that. Okay, I've missed out a little bit there, but we'll revisit the bit I've missed out. We'll come back to it. So moving on from that, bring your feet a little bit closer together. Have a little look. We've done this one before. We're going to take a roll down very quickly, and this time the feet are closer together, legs nice and parallel. Both legs are start straight. Now we're going to bend one knee and straighten that leg, and bend the other knee and straighten the leg. So again, my hips are dropping, but it's a bigger drop than before. We're going to do a few of those. Then I'm going to turn sideways. We're going to lift the chest and the back. We're going to bring the hands together if you can. And you might be up here, that's absolutely fine. I'm looking for more of a neutral spine as opposed to a rounded back, which we're going to do quite a few times in class today. So palms are together. You're going to bend one knee, the hips have dropped, and then you're going to open up and rotate around the spine with the rib cage as well. You bring your hands back together, you straighten that leg, you bend the other knee, that hip has dropped, you open up towards the ceiling and you come back to the centre, bending the knees and rolling back up. We'll do a few of those each side. So feet a little bit closer together if you can, inside your hips. The first part, let's take our roll down, is just to have two straight legs. You can have your back quite relaxed at this stage, quite rounded, and just bend the knee and straighten the leg. Bend the knee fully, straighten the leg. Notice how when that knee bends, it's going over your toes. You can feel that hip really dropping. I can feel my thigh making contact with my chest. Hopefully you can feel that happening. So just the knee bending and straightening, and then lift your back. So bring your palms together, lift your back, get that back quite flat if you can. Then we're bending one knee, that side hip will drop down, and then we're rotating up, taking the same arm up as the straight leg side. It would be quite awkward if you did the other side. And we're looking for this lovely straight line. There's my straight line again, across my shoulders, all the way to my hands with the head in the middle. Come back to the centre, straighten both legs, swap sides, drop the hip. The shoulders initially shadow the angle of the hips and then they open up much more. The pelvis essentially is staying quite fixed once you've bent that leg. Bending and opening up, coming back to the centre. Make sure you've done an equal amount both sides, bend both knees and roll up through the spine, coming up to the top. Okay, the bit I missed out in the order of events of class, it's not too much of a problem, but we're going to do a little test. And I want you to sort of really notice how far you can see. We're going to take some rotation around the spine. So feet, again, as we were pretty much, just inside the shoulder width apart. Just watch me first before you do this. I don't need to do it before we do it together, if you like. We're going to test, with our eyes closed, how it feels when we just turn the head from side to side. The head only. Fingertips are touching the thighs so that you're not moving anything. Just noticing whether it feels tight, whether it feels okay, whether one side feels worse than the other. And then another 4 times with your eyes open, and I want you to check where you can see in the room that you're in. And we're going to come back to this position at the end of class and retest this. So we're just testing that first of all. Then we're going to do something else. So hopefully you haven't done anything yet. Just carry on watching me if you can. So I'm going to turn sideways. This is the movement that we're going to do now. We'll see how this. We'll repeat the test at the end, but this hopefully should help to ease that movement up a little bit as well. So I've turned to the side because I'm going to be looking behind me. I want to show you as I turn. In fact, I'm going to go this way because I've been doing it the other way all week. So I'm going to turn my eyes first and then my chin and my head. And as I'm turning as far as I can to the side until I can't go any further. Then I'm going to take the next bit down, which is my shoulders. I'm turning my shoulders around, trying to look behind me, into the corner behind me. I'm keeping my hips still at the moment. When I can't go any further with my ribs, and we're going to go nice and slowly, I'm going to take my hips all the way round. And now, so from here, directly behind me would be the door. I can actually see past the door into that corner. I'm going to hold that there. Feet have rotated, everything's rotated. I'm going to hold it there, breath in, breath out, and then very slowly coming back. Eyes first, then the chin, then the shoulders back to facing forwards, then the hips, and when the hips come back, the feet will unravel. Okay, hopefully that all made sense. So let's do our test first of all. Touching the legs lightly with your fingertips. Close the eyes first so that you're taking out the information that your eyes will be giving you to your brain quite slowly, turning as far as you can from side to side. Remember to keep your chin and your forehead on the same plane. And then do another 4. I'm probably going a little bit too fast actually, but do another 4 with your eyes open. Check out where you can see, where you can comfortably see in the room. Remember what I mean by keeping your chin and your forehead on the same lines. When you turn to the side, make sure you're not tilting one way or the other. Again, that will be a sign of tightness. So chin and forehead on the same plane. Good. So just checking that out, and then we're going to go to the, I'm going to turn sideways, but you can stay where you are. I'm going to do mine on the other side now. So eyes only, chin only. Till you get the shoulders and you can't go any further. Then the shoulders only, and I'm actively pushing my hips forwards a little tiny bit. Let the arms just hang from your shoulders. When you can't go any further with the shoulders and the ribs, and as you get to the end, just take a breath in and a breath out, see if it'll go a little bit more on its own, and then that final piece. Everything is rotated around. Feet are twisted slightly, feels a little bit twisted. Looking, spine really upright. If it's painful, then please stop. If you can, just hold it there and breathe. Try and relax as much as possible. And then the eyes are coming back, the chin is coming back, the shoulders are coming back. See if you can rotate each bit individually. And then those hips unravel and the feet come back to the centre. Let's go to the other side. So, turning the eyes first, which is a bit weird, then the chin, then the shoulders. Breathing all the way through. Remember, if you get a bit stuck, try and breathe, try and relax it a little bit more. Last thing for me is those hips. I can really feel I'm on the outside edge of one foot. I can see comfortably into that corner, the same corner I could before. I'm going to hold it there for a breath in and a breath out at least. And then eyes are coming back, chin is coming back. I'm trying to look back to my front, if that makes any sense at all. Ribs come back, shoulders come back to face forwards, and I'm almost leaving my hips where they were. And then letting those hips unravel. When you let the hips unravel, there's that nice sensation of release. Very quickly, stand where you were before. Turn your head from side to side. Fingertips lightly touching. You may already see an improvement in where you can see from side to side. And hopefully by the end of class that will change again. Wonderful. Okay, we are taking some wide leg hamstring stretches. We're going to pop our hands on our shoulders, and this is what we normally do with this one. We hinge forwards from the shoulders. We're thinking about so that straight line now is extended now from elbow to elbow. I'm hinging forwards from my hips, keeping my back in its natural curves. I should see the top of your head in the middle of that straight line. I shouldn't see anything else. I shouldn't see a rounded line to the elbows, and I also shouldn't see any of the back of your top of your upper back. Because basically, if that happens, so just go into this and out of it a couple of times, pitching forwards. This is me in my neutral spine. Nothing has changed from up here. I've got good hamstring length. You might only go to here, but I haven't changed my neutral spine. If you let it change by letting your head drop forwards or your shoulders round forwards, that's when you're going to change that shape. It goes all collapsed. So that's what we're after. Brilliant. And then come up to stand. And we're going to now take some air, I call this aeroplane arms. So the arms are out to side. I want you to imagine you've got a bracket across your shoulder joint here. So essentially, if I go sideways to the camera, you can't do this. You can't move your arm independently forwards or backwards because this bracket is stopping it. So what's going to happen if I stay sideways is you're going to rotate only because of the shoulders, that diagonal line and the, or that straight line, shoulders and the hips are opening out and my feet are going as well. So imagine that on both sides. So just in standing, so we're rotating around the spine again. I'm just slightly knocking my, trying to get my arms level with the floor. It's really weird when you're looking at yourself in the monitor, it's mirroring me and I'm slightly wonky, but I think that's better. Yeah, no, maybe there. Yeah. Okay, keeping the head nice and still. Great, so we're going to take that action, keeping this joint absolutely still. And also be aware that we can move it further back from that straight line. Try and keep the arm absolutely at right angles to your body. Pitching forwards into your hamstring stretch again, your wide leg hip hinge. And then from there, I'm just going to have a little look and lift my head and check. This is our aeroplane arms. Yeah, it's very tempting and quite easy to lift that top arm back a little bit. You really be aware that the arms aren't changing. So we're truly rotating around the ribs. The hips are staying still. The hips are staying solid, they're staying in a neutral pelvis. Weight is equal through both feet. This is quite hard work. Keeping that chin tucked in. My arms are shaking a little bit. Brilliant. Okay, well done. Then let's take the hands down to the floor. Let's take the feet out much wider and turn them out to the corners as we go from side to side for our Cossack stretches. This is quite a strong stretch. Important to just keep those legs, those hips mobilized. We're going to add another rotation to this. Have a little look. We're going to take the hands, hand opposite to the bent leg side, the opposite hand on the floor. Get both fingers, both sets of fingers, facing the same walls. They're facing the right hand side. And then I'm going to lift and rotate up to the ceiling, and I'm trying to flip my hand back as if I'm trying to hold the ceiling up. I'm going to swap to the other side. It's quite strong. Fingers are facing the left hand side now, and then up to the top. Little tip here, if you're not already doing it, you need your back to be I want your back to be nice and flat again. So as we transfer from side to side, the back is quite flat. Basically, if you're here, you won't get much rotation. If you're rounded in that upper back. So sort of stick your chest out to the floor and do what you can going from side to side. So it's another rotation around the spine. One more each side. Brilliant. And then have a little collapse onto the floor. I think that's the best way to describe that. Okay, so we're doing some more rotation. So you may or may not have noticed a lot of rotation around this central section, around the torso, It's our thoracic spine. So I normally in my classes spend a lot of time trying to get that rib cage spine freed up on a sort of forwards to backwards plane, this way. Today we're looking at just rotating and freeing it up. And also we want to sort of try and isolate that section for this, a couple of the exercises. We want to isolate the pelvis in some other exercises. So it's all going on. And obviously when we're turning the head independently, we're just isolating the head. So just trying to get that rotation all the way down through the spine. Perfect. So this first exercise, it is our all fours square box position, but I'm going to start facing forwards to show you. You're going to have your hands underneath your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips. Move my mat back a little bit. I'm going to get my knees on the mat. So nice and square, knees underneath your hips, but feet and knees together to start with. And then we're going to take one foot out to the side, one leg out to the side. If you can, get that foot nice and flat, and that foot is on a level with my other knee. And then from there, from my square box position, so the idea of this is that your pelvis is in a really good neutral position, and we're going to open up the straight line, the straight arm, open up the arm on the same side as the leg that's out to the side, all the way up to the ceiling. To a straight line, try not to go beyond, we don't really need to go beyond, lifting out of that hand on the floor, and then we're going to thread the needle through. And I'm sort of bending this arm in, I'm going to bend my supporting arm as well, and I'm stretching through. So 3 of those, that was 1, that's number 2. Let me just show you another point of this. Again, that back, in order for your threading the needle especially to be effective, you need to not have your back too rounded, and also don't allow your hips to go too far back. So this is my square box position to start with. This time I'm going to take the other leg out, so you can see that foot is in line with this knee. Is it? Yeah, just about. So I'm going to open up here, straight arm first, or straight leg side first. And then when I'm threading through, if I stay rounded and I don't really bend that back arm, I don't really go anywhere. It's quite restricted. If I keep my chest pushing down to the floor, so my spine is in neutral, sticking the bottom out a little bit, and then I bend that arm, then I get a really nice rotation. So 3, one more thing to show you. Let's go this way. 3 with the easy arm. 3, same leg with the difficult arm. But be aware when you're taking that, threading the needle through on the difficult arm, of not letting the back round. It's quite tight. So I'm going to go sideways. So knees together, hands underneath the shoulders. Make sure the knees are underneath the hips. Don't be too close together with the hands and knees. I'm going to take my right leg out. Actually, I'm going to take the back leg away first. So if you've got your right leg out straight, right arm up, or the other way, looking up to the ceiling, so the head is following you this time. The head's not going in the opposite direction. Sweep the arm up and stretching through. You should feel a really nice stretch between your shoulder blades when you take that threading the needle. Maybe just hold it there. Fingertips are just brushing the floor. It's not up and it's not extending away. Replace that hand back where it was underneath your shoulder. Try the other side. Lifting up to the ceiling is really quite difficult. And then bending the arm, arching the back. Do what you can here. So what's interesting, what's happening is because that leg is out to the side, the pelvis is staying quite nicely fixed, which is why it's so difficult to change that, to rotate in the ribcage spine. Okay, all on the other side with the other leg. So just remember it's 3 of each. I'm going to shuffle back a tiny bit. Okay, hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, knees together, straighten out that leg. Easy peasy side. This feels lovely. Reaching up and then bending the arm and thread through. Play about with your breathing here. I've just tried it both ways. So either breathing in as you go up, breathing out as you stretch through, or the other way. Breath out as you go up. I'm doing an extra one here. Or breath in as you stretch through. Try and do one or the other. Keep the leg there. Change hands. Change arms. Whoa, opening up. Might be better to breathe out on that one as it's so difficult. Breath in as you stretch through. Keep that lower back in and good neutral if you can. Try not to extend your hips away from your hands. Keep the hips above the knees. That's strong, that's tough, well done. And relax a moment. Brilliant. Next thing I would like you to think about, we're going to do some seated work. I want you to think about 3 lines down your back. We've done this sort of work before. You've got the central line, which is your spine, and then you've got a line either side, one on the right, one on the left. It goes from the base of your shoulder blade in a straight line down to your sit bones. And we're going to sit really nice and upright, and if it helps you to either sit on a block, sit on a book, sit on a cushion maybe, it's really key that you're sitting right up on those sit bones and just have a little rock from side to side maybe. And also that your spine is in neutral. So if you find yourself sitting here, again, it's that rounded back position. It ain't going to happen, and it's not a good place to try and practice from. You might just even want to sit. You could try this in a chair actually as well. We're going to bring the arms forwards. I want you to imagine the 3 lines. And we're going to start with the palms down, and hands are shoulder width apart, don't have them too close together. I'm going to rotate around my spine. I'm going to pull that shoulder girdle, twist that straight line from shoulder to shoulder. By pulling one elbow back, the other arm reaches forwards, and then I extend and change again. Look how this front arm, the one I'm leaving in front of my body, reaches forwards. The other shoulder, elbow pulls back, and then I come back to the centre. Let's try a few of those. So reaching and extending. So really be aware, I'm going to face forwards a moment, that you're not twisting or leaning. Sorry, I'm turning my head. I don't need to turn your head for the moment. Keep the head facing forwards. Great. The other thing to think about and notice is, are you ending up with one knee higher than the other, one foot in front of the other, even if just a little bit, or are you finding yourself leaning in your torso, so you're changing at the waist? Those are all signs of tightness. We're looking again for the pelvis not to join in. We're looking for this rib cage spine to be moving, and it's difficult. We're going to add on to that. Have a little look. So we're going to pull one elbow back, reaching the other arm forwards, making sure the sit bones are both equally weighted. Then we're extending that arm out behind you to the corner, sweeping it round, squaring everything up. Reaching one elbow back, reaching the other arm forwards, extend out to the corner, sweep round and come back to the centre. Just 4 of these if you can. So if you haven't already started, let's do another 4 from here. Elbow back. Think about those sit bones. You might find you're more inclined to lean on one side than the other. It's tough. Try and keep those shoulders down. This is the key movement. This is the bit that's going to make it relatively easy. Elbow up but shoulder down. Same thing when you sweep around. That was my 4. Going to have a little slump. That's really quite hard work. Good. Okay. Thinking about the movement that or thinking about the 3 lines of the spine. So let's come down onto our backs. For we're going to take the Garuda 3 spine bridges. And I'm going to turn sideways. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go this way a moment, and hopefully you can see. So our focus this time is to take, like our pelvic clocks that we've been doing in class recently, where we take the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock. If you come back to the thinking about this straight line from hip to hip, we're taking a seesaw, the seesaw action that we did earlier. So we've done it in, this is probably the third, slightly different position. It feels slightly different each time, but I'm pushing my left hip into the mat. My right hip is lifted up. My right knee has gone further forwards in front of my left knee. But there's no, I haven't taken my legs from side to side. I'm just pushing the right hip down, legs stay parallel, that left leg goes forwards when I go to the other side, and then coming back into the middle. That's how we're going to achieve going up and down those straight lines. But let's take some nice peeling shoulder bridges to start with. So allow yourself to settle your spine on the mat. Maybe have a little rock from side to side. I always like to just have a bit of a wiggle about when I first lie down. Check out how it's feeling. Make sure that I'm relaxing. I feel like I'm being throttled by my top. Okay. Yeah, just making sure that everything's relaxed. We've worked quite hard so far, so make sure you're not holding any excess tension anywhere. And then let's tuck that pelvis under. Push each vertebrae into the mat before you lift up. So getting those hips up really nice and high. This position should help to relieve that stress that we just had from the sitting position on the last exercise. So really try and open up the front of the hips. Switch your sit bones on, send your knees over your toes, relax the rib cage down, don't let that get involved. Really activate those buttocks. Can you get those hips up any higher? And then to reverse and come down, we're going to push the breastplate in first. I was working out, so we've got 5 lumbar spine, we've got 12 thoracic spine, so not 5 lumbar spine, we've got 5 lumbar vertebrae, we've got 12 thoracic vertebrae. So that's at least 17 vertebrae, and then I think there's another 7 in the neck, the cervical spine. So that's 12, yeah, 21 in total. But obviously the ones in the nape of your neck, the curve of your neck, are not going to get involved in this. So let's say there's at least 18 to 20 vertebrae, like cotton reels, one on top of each other, that you're pushing into the mat and then peeling off, section by section. That's what we want to try and imagine. And it's easy to imagine when we're going up and down the central line, which is our spine, because that's how it's made. It is made up of those little sections. Some of them are bigger than others. And we're trying to sort of iron out, articulate through each one as we go. So now let's go, we're just going to do 4 of these. I'm going to go over to one side. So I'm going to push my left hip into the mat. In fact, I'm going to do this way around. It might help if you're struggling with this one a little bit. So from this one, I'm going to push my left hip into the mat, and I'm going to I'm going to peel up that left hand line till I get all the way to the top. And hopefully you can see that my right hip is now lifted higher than the left hip. I've got to my left shoulder blade. I'm going to level up my hips. They can go a little bit higher now. I'm going to come back down through the middle, back to neutral. I'm going to push my right hip into the mat. Left knee is forwards, left hip is lifted, left buttock isn't actually touching the floor now. Peel, push. Imagine there are also vertebrae down this right hand line. There isn't, but imagine it is. Exactly the same as when you're in the centre. Up to the top, up to the shoulder blade, into the middle, reverse peel down and release. Let's go straight up in the middle. Hopefully that's all really nicely warmed up now. Let's come down the right side. So I allow my right hip to drop. I carry on pushing that left hip up to the ceiling. I'm coming down from the right shoulder blade down to that straight line. Imagining a straight line to my sit bone. There's a weird gap around your waist. Right hip hits the floor, come back into the center but level with both hips. Last one, up through the middle, all the way up to the top. Allow the left hip to drop. Reverse peeling down. Oh, go past that slightly weird gap. Hip is down completely and drop back into neutral. Well done. Sit yourselves up a moment. Just be quite comfortable if you can. Again, come and sit on your cushion. You might, if it's comfortable for you, be happy sitting on your knees. In fact, I'm going to do this. If you can do this, great, please do it, because it's good for your body to be able to do it. If it's a work in progress for you, maybe don't do it if it's uncomfortable. You could put a little cushion between your heels and the backs of your thighs. Do whatever works. You could maybe just be sitting cross-legged or on that book or that block that you had earlier. Interlace fingers, hands at the back of the head. Bring your elbows forwards, hug with your armpits, which I'm going to face directly forwards. Okay, so hugging with the armpits. So my elbows are in my peripheral vision. They're not going to move. I'm actively pushing my head back into my hands. Lift your shoulders up, round your ears, draw them down. Slide those shoulder blades down in your back. You've set your upper body. Turn your upper body, the whole of your upper body, into that pepper pot again, that pepper mill. But this time, we're taking the head with us as well. And so we're just rotating from side to side. No change in the legs, which is why it's quite good to sit like this, because you can't, it's very difficult to join in with your pelvis because the weight of your upper body on your legs folding over. So notice that you really, if you're in a very square room, my room is quite square, I'm only able to go to the corner and then back to the centre, to the corner and back to the centre. But this is working our obliques. This is what we're going to do in our abdominal section. Slight warning before we get going, it is quite tough. So pelvis, lower body stays still, upper body twists around the spine. Okay, so lying back down on your backs. Hands again at the back of the head. Feet and knees together. Not to squeeze them together too strongly, but just to keep the pelvis really nice and stable. We're going to do 5 in the same direction of each piece of each thing. We're going to stay on one side, and we're going to only do 5 of each. Trust me, you won't want to do any more than 5. So please don't think, oh, this is easy, I can carry on. It gets really tough towards the end. So feet and knees together. Pelvis in neutral, lower back in neutral, not tucked under. Get those ribs down at the front, hug with the armpits, slide the shoulder blades down in your back. We're coming straight up and to the corner, towards the screen, and then lower back down again. Straight up towards the screen and down. So we're taking an oblique abdominal curl. I'm really trying not to just roll across this shoulder blade. It's a completely different feeling. I'm trying to clear that shoulder blade. And when I'm up at the top, up at the highest, it's just hovering off the floor, but it's just closer to the floor than the back one. Woo, this is my 5th one, I think. And lower. And we're going to add on to that same movement a knee fold with the camera, the screen leg. Be nice and accurate, and then place that leg down. So an extra challenge for the pelvis to stay still. Now we're getting that leg movement involved. Remember, if you draw that knee in too far, 2 more to go. If you draw that knee in too far, the shape of your lower back is guaranteed to change. Be really accurate and strong with this position. That was 5 of those. 6th one, hold it there. You're going to slide the other leg along the floor. You're going to lift the leg off the floor slightly and hover it. You're going to try and come up a little bit higher, opposite elbow to knee. You're going to extend that arm that's closest to the screen away behind you, lengthening all ends away. Try and lift up. Bring the hand back in, lift up a little bit more, slide the leg back in, lift up a little bit more, put the foot down, lift a little bit more, and halababa. Collapse. Just let your head roll from side to side, let your legs roll from side to sides if you would like to. Let's, for ease, it's quite good to keep sitting up and rolling down again. Twiddle round to the other side. You could stay where you are and you could just turn away from the camera, but it might be better to be seeing what I'm up to as well. So I put my feet at the other side, I'm rolling down again. Oh, I can only just manage that because I've felt the effects of the cumulative effects of this one all week. A short and sweet exercise, but very effective. Okay, so hands at the back of the head. Elbows are forwards, feet and knees together. Think of the shape of your back, it's in its natural curves, especially that lower back. Pelvis is in neutral, pelvis stays nice and still. Hug, lift your shoulders up around your ears, slide your shoulder blades down in your back, hug around your armpits, squeeze your knees together a little bit, and then we're coming up to the other corner and down. Connecting those ribs to the hips at the front. Remember when you lower, it's the same, it's normal technique for our abdominal curls. We're just adding this rotational twist today. Remember when you lower to not allow those ribs to flare. Your spine shape shouldn't change. Remember to wiggle your head around every now and again. Check that you're not using your neck. I'm going to do one more on this side. And that your head is heavy and relaxed. Triceps might even be hurting a little bit from the weight of that head. I'm adding on a knee fold and down. Try talking all the way through it, even harder. So I'm really trying to keep my lower back in neutral. I'm trying to keep this, the shoulder blade that's closest to the floor. I'm trying to keep that lifted. I'm really finding it hard now. Two more, I think. Last one. Grand finale. Let's hold it there. See if you can clear both shoulder blades. Slide the other leg away along the floor. Hold it off the floor just a little bit. Extend that arm. Make sure that shoulder blade is lifted. Try and get that elbow closer to that knee. Bring the hand back in. Slide the leg back in. Put down, lift a little bit. Oh gosh. Okay, this time arms out to the side, backs of the hands there, legs are slightly apart, legs are bent, and just have a lovely loll from side to side. Maybe with your head going in the opposite direction. Even this, we're sort of unravelling those oblique abdominal muscles where we've worked so hard there, but even this is a lovely spinal rotation, especially when you allow your head to go in the opposite direction all the way. Well done. Oh, sitting up. Sitting up in order to come and lie down on the floor. We have got two more exercises. One of them being the big stretch. I'm going to take my hair out now. And then we're going to retest ourselves to see how mobilised that spine is. You might want a cushion for this. We're going to lie on our side, and the reason you might want a cushion, or you might want to sort of fold up your mat a little bit, is because I want your head to be comfortable. What I don't want you to do here is to start with so we're going to have the legs bent, feet in line with the hips, and then I don't want you to have your shoulders stacked one on top of the other, especially if you haven't got a cushion because your head is hanging down here. So what I want you to do to alleviate that is to stretch that underneath arm really forwards. So already I've created a diagonal line here in my shoulders, and it actually already feels quite nice. And this means that I can comfortably get my head on the floor. As I say, you could roll your yoga mat up to give you a little bit of height there. If you've got a cushion, like this one, be at the front of it, Make sure that this hand is slightly lower than your shoulder. So it's not up here, so you're not losing your neck completely. You're not squashing that shoulder too much. Hips are pretty much stacked, but because I've opened up the shoulders already, your knees probably won't be one on top of each other. Here's the test. When you go to take the top arm to reach towards your hands, you shouldn't be able to get your hands together. I don't want you to get your hands together. If you can get your hands together, because you've got your shoulders stacked, which is not what we're after. So we're here. We're already rotated. This exercise is called opening the door. I'm going to take the cushion away because it's a bit too much for me actually. I prefer to feel my head on the floor. So we're here. We're just brushing the ceiling. So we're opening the arm up to the ceiling, following it with our eye line and our head, and then taking the arm out behind us. And just relaxing. Try not to fight it. Keep the head heavy on the floor or on the cushion all the time if you can. The idea is to just let that rib cage spine open up. So we've done 3. When you come back to face forwards, try not to reach hand to hand. Don't roll across that shoulder. Keep it lovely and lengthened out and stretched out. 4, one more. 5th one, I'm just going to hold it there. And this time I'm going to lift my head up a little bit more and try and turn and look away a tiny bit more. And breathe. And your shoulders might be flat on the floor. My back shoulder isn't anywhere near the floor. My hand has only just touched the floor actually, now that I'm relaxing a little bit more. It's a wonderful stretch all across the front of your shoulder. You might find it too much. If it's too much, don't go so far. Maybe, or bring the arm in a little bit. Good, and then from here, I've just had a memory actually, the last time I tried to teach this stretch, we're going to do the big stretch, I had to sort of really change the angle because I used to have the camera in a different place, but this, hopefully you should be able to see all this. So just turn your head back, to keep everything where it is, but turn your head back to face forward so that you can see me on the screen. We're going to straighten that top leg out, and then you're going to take the front arm, put the elbow in the floor, the hand underneath the leg, and make a bracket, make a shelf for that leg. And then just let the leg dangle and rest there. So the leg is straight if you can, but it's resting in my palm, and my elbow is in the floor, so I'm supporting it. I'm not holding it there with my muscles because that would just be too strong. Then I want you to flex the feet and really keep that leg nice and straight. Slide the underneath leg back, the underneath thigh back, and try and ease that top leg towards your head, keeping the leg straight. Then turn your head away, and by now those shoulders my shoulders are now both on the floor, because I've got this big stretch going on. I want you to circle your foot at your ankle and breathe. So this is called the big stretch because it's stretching so many different things. So you've got the stretch at your heel and your calf and the back of your knee and your hamstrings if you've got that leg nice and straight, and your outside thigh and hip on the straight leg. If you sweep that underneath thigh back, you'll open up the front of that hip. Stretching in the lower back, the whole of the spine actually is having a wonderful rotation. That top shoulder, opening up the shoulders, letting the neck, letting the head be nice and heavy. Everything, it's all going on there. And then just bend that knee and roll over onto your side. Let's sit up. You could again face away from the camera if you wanted to, but I'm going to turn this way to go onto the other side, so that if I was in class I could see what you were up to. So we're stretching away that underneath arm. Remember, if you've got your mat rolled up to give you a little bit of support, just so that your head's a little bit higher. Make sure you're at the front of it so that when you roll the head back, you don't fall off the end of it, sort of thing. But most importantly, get this hand a little bit lower than your shoulder, so your arm is at right angles to the body. Be relaxed here, not too squished in the shoulder. And then just check, I'm just past my elbow now, so I'm nowhere near fingertips or palm to palm. And then we're opening up. So if you only want to go to here, that's absolutely fine. If you can, allow the weight of the arm to just help with that rotation and then coming back. Breathing, relaxing. Noticing if one side feels a little bit tighter than the other or they're about the same. So it's about the same for me. I'm getting some slightly weird clicking every time I open out and come back again. I think this is the last one. I think this is the 5th one. This time holding it there, just breathing. Maybe try and lift the head up and just turn a little bit more. So I'm trying to look at that back hand. I can't quite see it, but just letting my head go as far as it will go. Head being heavy, if it's uncomfortable, just ease off of it. Come out a bit, back off a little bit. Great, and then we're into the big stretch. Turn your head to face the screen if you did twiddle everything around the other way. Straightening that top leg, making a bracket or shelf for that leg with your hand and your elbow in the floor. Leg nice and relaxed, just let it bounce a couple of times. Notice that you're not holding too much tension there. And then engage the leg by flexing the foot, make sure it's nice and straight. Slide the underneath thigh back. Keep your leg bent on that underneath leg. And then we're flexing the foot. We're trying to ease that foot a little bit closer towards our head. And then I'm going to turn my head back in the opposite direction, which opens up my shoulders and my upper spine a little bit more. So now I've got both shoulders on the floor. And the grand finale is to have a nice circle at the ankle. So as you do this, just noticing even that just tweaks everything a little bit more. Breathing. And bending that leg. Rolling over onto your side. Sitting yourselves up. Great job. Okay, let's come up to stand. We need to come up to stand. I just want to revisit that test. So however you would like to, maybe on all fours, curl the toes under. In fact, I'm just going to do a very quick downward dog stretch. I haven't done anything on the feet today or the calves. Always my thing. Walking the hands back to the feet, soft knees, rolling up through the spine, making sure you push that pubic bone forwards. I'm going to be a little bit low, but just checking for yourself. Try and go back to where you were standing earlier, if you can remember, roughly. So feet just hip width apart, standing up nice and tall, fingertips touching the legs, turning your head from side to side. Now I can actually see, I could see directly 90 degrees before, now I've got an extra 15 degrees. Whew. Yeah, I can see right into the corners. Hopefully you're the same. Thank you so much for joining me. See you again soon.